So now that we know that this is changing come November 1st, what are the impacts of these changes? Well, let's dive into the top three impacts of these changes. First off, enterprise agreement and MPSA agreement pricing will now be similar to pricing that's commonly referred to CSP. I mentioned CSP earlier. CSP stands for Cloud Solution Provider. Microsoft commented, this new pricing will align with the pricing published on Microsoft.com. For people familiar with CSP, we're already aware that CSP pricing aligns with the pricing published on Microsoft's website. These additional changes to enterprise agreements and MPSAs represent another great shift towards pricing consistency across all of Microsoft's licensing models. Second of the big three changes to talk about, or the big three impacts of the changes. For customers with EAs and MPSAs, these changes take effect at the customer's next agreement renewal, or when a customer purchases new online services within their EA or MPSA after November 1st. For customers with 3-year agreements, their agreement's going to renew every 3 years. Most people negotiated their agreements to start and end around June 30th, Microsoft end of the fiscal year for the best discounting. So for most people, most customers with EAs, you're going to see the impacts of this starting. It goes live in November 1st, but you're going to see the impacts in reality starting in June of next year. It's important to note also that many customers with EAs and or MPSAs also already have CSP licensing for license quantities above the thresholds that are in place for EAs and MPSAs. In my opinion, these companies should really consider consolidating licensing to CSP if they haven't already begun this transition. And then lastly, the third big impact of this change that was announced last week, CSP providers are going to be able to compete on even ground with EA pricing, with the exception of a 3-year price lock, because as I mentioned earlier, EA gives a 3-year price lock. It is important to note, though, that Microsoft has been adding 3-year pricing options to CSP pricing. If you remember, most CSP pricing for years has been a month-to-month or an annual pricing. And I did a previous episode here on what's new with Microsoft back in May of this year, May of 2025, where I did a deep dive into 3-year subscription terms in CSP. Back then, Microsoft had announced that effective June 1st, CSP pricing was going to have 3-year price locks for Microsoft 365 E3 and E5s, which are the hero products in the enterprise licensing of Microsoft 365 products. The list of subscriptions announced back then that I talked about in May not only included Microsoft 365 E3 and E5 with 3-year terms, but also Teams Enterprise, Microsoft 365 E5 Security product, and the E5 Compliance product also got 3-year terms. So those are to me, the top three impacts of these changes. One, we're going to see similar pricing across EAs, MPSAs, and CSP. Two, customers that already have EAs and MPSAs, they typically have CSPs and should consider migrating everything to CSP. And then three, Microsoft announced earlier this year the 3-year terms for a number of Microsoft 365 subscriptions, which went into place June 1st. I'm expecting we'll see a further announcement soon of additional products that will have 3-year terms in Microsoft 365 for the CSP model. I would expect that either later this year or sometime in 2026.